Good afternoon, everyone. It's Coram and Shreve here with a breakdown of the action for Wednesday, February 21st, also known as NVIDIA earnings day. Apparently, there's countdowns and things like that. You would have thought it's New Year's Eve or something, but a highly anticipated report. And in today's market, we actually saw some nice closes off lows, Ken, with the S&P 500 and Dow actually turning positive into the end of the session.
Yeah, pretty impressive rally during the final 30 minutes, and then we have NVIDIA coming out with earnings any minute now. So we'll see what they have to say. But obviously, a very important earnings report for the stock market. Let's take a look at three stocks to watch here. Want to take a look at an earnings sell-off for Palo Alto Networks and talk about a couple stocks in that group that actually turned out okay. And then also want to talk. I wanted to talk about Toll Brothers, nice breakout for the home builder, and finally Palantir, which has pulled back and is kind of retesting a prior buy point. So let's just start by talking about the Nasdaq, which made a nice stand at the 21-day moving average yesterday, and it did close up near its highs. Like I said, a final rally during the final 30 minutes of trading here.
Let's now go to the S&P 500 and get your thoughts.
Well, this is where the selling was really muted most of the session, even when the Nasdaq was down 0.6%, 0.7%. Small caps were down 1%. The S&P was just kind of hanging out just above its 21-day moving average. So it also had a nice close with the Nasdaq, and actually looks like it closed slightly higher. So during market uptrends, you tend to see kind of strength into the close. We saw more of it today.
Okay, and it does seem like a lot could potentially hinge on NVIDIA's earnings. So let's actually go there. I'm not sure if the results are out just yet, but it looks like the stock is currently up about 0.7%. So a mild reaction, either up or down, seems like it would be welcome.
Yes, and it was interesting just watching the options market. Option traders were expecting a 75-point move up or down. That's a move of about 10 or 11%. So we'll see if that plays out or not. Remember, 3 months ago when NVIDIA reported earnings, the stock barely moved. It was, I think, down 2.5% for the day, and it was almost like a non-event. I think, like you said, this one will be more important. Obviously, the big pre-earnings rally. Sometimes you see sell the news, but I think there's a big camp of people out there that think NVIDIA could once again significantly raise their guidance like they've been doing in recent quarters. So that's still a possibility, and if that's the case, maybe it has more left here and could move higher. We're still holding it on leaderboard. We're lucky to have a big profit cushion, so we can sit through any selling that takes place, but we'll hope for a good number here.
Okay, and we'll keep the audience updated if we happen to see the results come out before we finish. And if not, the news will be on investors.com and analysis, of course. Let's go to Palo Alto Networks, Ken, because this was a stock that was looking great heading into its quarterly report. And boy, what a disappointing move lower today, closing down 28% in some massive volume. So a little bit of a shocker, I would say here, the gravity of the move down.
Well, it is regarded as an industry bellwether. There's a lot of security software stocks out there. The group has been a tremendous performer in the market. You can see it ranks right now third out of 197 industry groups. So I was surprised the Nasdaq held up as well as it did, considering you had such a huge drop in PANW. Stopped short of the 200-day moving average here, but I was impressed by the relative strength of a couple other stocks in the group here. Let's take a look at Cyber, which I know you brought up in IBD Live earlier this morning. CyberArk, CYBR. Here's a stock that got dragged down with the Palo Alto earnings, but making a nice stand at the 10-week moving average on the weekly chart. And look at the daily chart here. It came down to the 50-day and tested support, closed up near its highs, and then gosh, there was totally blanking on the other stock. CrowdStrike, exactly.
Yeah.
Similar action, came down to the 50-day moving average and found support. So there were some bright spots in the group, but the numbers from Palo Alto were just disappointing. A high multiple stock that kind of lowered their revenue and billings guidance. That's a big no-no when you're selling at a premium valuation.
Absolutely. So definitely triggering a sell signal there. But we'll keep an eye on some of these other stocks in the group and see if they can continue to hold that key support and maybe offer aggressive entries for some traders. I know some of which maybe even nibbling today with those support levels and closes off lows.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what you'd expect a leading stock to do when it comes down to a key support level like the 50-day moving average. And you can see it's been quite a run for CrowdStrike, but good solid test today. And kind of a, we're still in a confirmed uptrend here, but when you see a move like CrowdStrike, you almost want to see a kind of a new base form here and let the stock digest some of these gains. It hasn't formed a base for many weeks, but good test of support here today.
Are we ready to move on to
Well,
Toll Brothers,
yeah,
Ken?
ready to move on to
All
Toll.
right. So this was an earnings mover, but moved in the positive direction, a strong breakout and an RS line blue dot, although it did fade off of its highs by the end of the day. But we'll take a look at this stock here. What do you think of TOL closing up almost 4% today?
Well, it was a really good earnings report. You can see 3 months ago they reported declining earnings and revenue for the October ended quarter. But then this time around, you have a nice increase in revenue, up 9%, earnings up 32%. Had a nice gap up, what we call a flat base that formed right along the 50-day moving average. So, the market was, even though it was a good close for the market, it didn't get much of a rally for Toll Brothers. It did give back some of those early gains. But you look at the weekly chart here, this is still a nice looking technical breakout from a well formed base. Again, support at the 10-week line. And yeah, I don't think you should sleep on the home builders here. Toll Brothers had talked a lot about a strong start to the spring season. Now, they are a luxury home builder, so types of people that are buying these homes may not be as sensitive to higher interest rates. So business seems to be going pretty well for Toll Brothers here.
Okay, and moving on, let's take a look at the last stock that we wanted to cover today, and that is Palantir PLTR, an explosive move on earnings 2 weeks ago. It's pulling in a little bit, but could this soon maybe offer traders a new chance?
Well, I mean, it pulled back into the 5% buy zone. You can see that blue shaded area here based on that 2185 pivot. You had that nice earnings gap, really strong. Commercial business doing well at Palantir here. It's another AI stock that's made a lot of inroads there too. So yeah, I mean, to me the stock looks actionable. The question is right now, if you've been raising some cash and taking some profits in your winners, is now the time to be putting money to work. I think I'd rather wait for Nvidia to come out and see what they have to see what they have to say and see how the market responds to it. And then you might want to look at a name like Palantir if the uptrend stays intact, because it's come back down into a buy zone here, and that was one heck of an earnings report not that long ago.
It sure was. Okay, we'll circle back to NVIDIA briefly before we wrap up here today, Ken. So I don't think the results are out just yet, but what do you think traders should be doing if they're watching it and also if they're in it, depending on an upside move or a downside move or a do nothing?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to hear from Nvidia at the bottom of the hour, since we haven't heard yet. I do know the conference call, like you said, is at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So it really depends. I mean, if you bought Nvidia when it broke out over the 500 level, you obviously have a nice profit cushion. We first entered this stock on leaderboard back in February 2023. So we sort of have the luxury of sitting through a pullback if we're gonna get one. But again, I think the chances that Nvidia, they could raise their outlook again, and if that's the case, maybe you see more upside. There's another big camp that says, a lot of good news has been priced in here. It's been such a bullish move past that 500 level. Maybe it's time to just kind of pause and consolidate gains here. So I think either scenario is possible. I have no doubts that the numbers are going to be very strong. And again, I think that the chances for a pretty good outlook are there too. Will it be enough to drive even more gains? That remains to be seen. But it likely, I have a suspicion it could move the market.
Okay, well, we'll have to see what unfolds. I know a lot of us on the team, including myself, own this one in addition to leaderboard. So we'll have updates for everyone depending on what those results are and the reaction and the guidance, all that good stuff.